reaction to that and exclusive details on a soon-to-be-released bombshell report on the origins of COVID. Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, good to see you. On the debt ceiling, so it's my take that Joe Biden and the Democrats bet that Republicans in the House would never agree because of their small majority on a debt ceiling increase. Okay, they came up with a plan. They raised the debt ceiling. They go back to 2022 spending levels. It also has other measures for energy independence, et cetera. And it scores out of the CBO at what, $4.8 trillion in savings over 10 years. How does Kevin McCarthy make another deal with Biden, go back to his caucus and get a majority of them to agree with him to make some concessions? I don't see that happening in 14 days. So if we, in fact, default, I would blame Joe Biden for not talking to him for 97 days while McCarthy was begging him.
Yeah, I think, first of all, Speaker McCarthy deserves a lot of credit and praise for holding not just the Republican conference together, but delivering a very reasonable product. If you think about the things at the House, it's not crazy things. It's things about work requirements and some basics about holding the line on future spending and the like, and the unspent COVID money. You know, clawing that back. That money's still sitting out there. It's time to bring it back. The pandemic is over, by the administration's own admission. At the same time, look, the answer to this issue is very simple. There has to be a deal between the Speaker of the House, controlled by Republicans, and the President of the United States. And he spent the better part of 3 months saying he wouldn't negotiate anything. Now they're in these negotiations, playing a game of chicken with the U.S. economy. And I agree 100%. If there is a default, God forbid, and I don't think we'll have one, but if there is one, I think the blame will fall on the White House for refusing to talk to anybody about it and refusing to negotiate with Republicans. The answer here is for the Speaker of the House and this president to reach a deal. That's how all of these things have happened in the past. And it's Biden being late to the game and playing around with this that has brought us to this point.
Let's talk about your findings and the origins of COVID and your investigation. I think everything we can glean about the communist Chinese was their travel ban. People forget this very early on during the pandemic, that if you lived in Wuhan, if you lived in that province, you were not allowed, per the Chinese government, to fly to any other part of China, but you could fly to any other point in the world. Other people in other places in China were not allowed to fly to Wuhan province. Doesn't that tell us everything that we need to know about what the Chinese knew and hid from the entire world?
Well, and tomorrow we're going to release previously unknown information that builds on an investigation that happened last year. This was not included as part of it, so we want to make sure the public sees it, that begins to outline the things that were going on in China in August, in September of 2019. For example, they had a drill at one of their airports where they specifically said, we are drilling against a novel COVID pandemic, coronavirus, using terminology that wasn't even familiar to anybody until March or February of the next year. You start to see all sorts of internal communications within the Chinese government and researchers about the urgent need for biosecurity measures at both the Wuhan Institute of Virology and the Wuhan Institute of Health. You begin to add a mountain of circumstantial evidence. No single piece by itself is determinative, but you put it all together. And the fact that the Chinese to date have not yet produced the animal, show us the animal that was the originator of this. They've yet to do that, almost 3 years after. And I think that it becomes really compelling. And you start to understand why some of our agencies and government believe. In fact, the Department of Energy and even the FBI have said that they believe that this was a lab accident. I think tomorrow we'll have something to contribute to that I think further builds that case.
What about Dr. Fauci's role? We know that the NIH funneled money through the EcoHealth Alliance, that they knew that gain-of-function research took place at this lab. They knew coronavirus research took place there as well. They tried to deny it, hide it, et cetera. Do you think that Fauci lied to the American people?
Well, I can't say for certainty that Fauci knew that it was a lab accident, but I think he had to have known that it was a real possibility because they knew the kind of research that was going on over there. They knew the problems this place had, and they didn't just deny it. They smeared. They went out and actively and openly looked to smear and destroy any scientist and anyone who would dare raise that proposition. We need to remember that there was a time in the United States of America where if you went on Facebook or you went on Twitter and you said that this was a lab accident, they would take down your post and potentially close your account. Something that today is at least a 50-50 proposition in the minds of almost any serious observer. There was a time in America where you would be wiped out. They would close your account and they would take down your post if you dared to say that you were a conspiracy theorist. And all that was fed by many in the scientific community like Dr. Fauci.